Kimchi Juice is just a funny name. And then when I started painting murals, like usually people don't go by like their legal names, they have some artist name. And so I ended up just going with Kimchi Juice. Kimchi Juice sums up like the mix that I am, which maybe juice isn't the best representation of whiteness, but kimchi is good for being Korean, and so I'm kimchi juice now.
Welcome to Dear Workplace. I am so excited to have Julia Chon on the show today, better known by her artist name Kimchi Juice. And not a coincidence because it is implying all the amazing work that she does related to Korean culture and celebrating diversity and all that beauty. So, Julia, so excited to have you. I think the first question I am so eager to dive in is how in the world did you get to dive into a career as an artist and why pay so much homage to Korean culture and history?
Yeah, so thank you for having me first off. I think that it really starts at the beginning. I was born into a huge Korean family. My grandmother had 7 daughters, and the reason why she had 7 daughters was because there were no sons. And like culturally, they kept trying to have a son. And so I was so blessed to have my mother and 6 aunts growing up surrounding me. And I was always a creative child growing up. But when I was around 13, 14, my parents were separating and getting divorced, and I really turned to art and particularly painting as therapy for me. And so it was something that I practiced every day. And so she was like, "One, I'm never gonna homeschool you. I'm not a teacher, but if you find an alternative, we can discuss." And so I found an online high school program after some research, and I proposed it to both of my parents. And miraculously, they both agreed to me trying out this online high school program. And that's really how I got my start as an artist.
Why is sharing Korean culture through your artwork important for you?
Yeah, I touched a little bit on how I come from a large matriarchal Korean family. And I think when I first started painting, it was like what I gravitated towards, especially I came from like a 3 generation traditional Korean household where it was my grandparents, my mom, me, and my brothers, like all sandwiched in the house together. And I had this access to this like wealth of information on what it was to be Korean in like the 60s and 70s for my grandparents. And the first painting that I did, the first portrait that I did was of my grandmother, like referenced off of like old family photos. And so it wasn't really even a question on this is, it was just something that was natural, like an innate, like wanting to express this side of me that I don't think I could express with words. And my grandfather always says to paint with joy and bright colors and yellow make me happy. And so, like, that kind of all factors in, like, the love for my family, for who I am, and just like being able to put that on a canvas.
I love that. I've heard that, in fact, that energy was also how you got the inspiration during the pandemic to create your kimchi pot special collection that is also now at the Smithsonian. Tell me a little bit more about that journey. Where did you first find the inspiration?
Yeah, so for the kimchi pots, the Smithsonian acquisition came about when a researcher approached me researching APA foodways in the DC area. And so we're talking about originally it was an oral history interview that I contributed on like being Korean American in this day and age.
I almost feel like I'm hearing you're not just an artist, you're almost a historian, archiving and making sure we remember the history and giving it the proper credit. Your story about your grandfather and forgetting the name, that's moving. And I think there's such a human element that you have beautifully captured and have beautifully recommunicated back through the work.